afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, where you are. We want to welcome you back to the Apply Rigor podcast. Hey, before we get into our topic today, first of all, we just want to thank those of you that have subscribed to our podcast, those of you that have left great ratings and comments. We thank you so much. We've been so excited to be able to put this together for you as a gift for you. And so if that is not you, we want to ask you to subscribe, to put in a rating and a comment, and it will just continue to help us get the word out to encourage entrepreneurs and business owners and executives as they go through the peaks and valleys of life. How you doing today, Dave?
I'm awesome.
Well, good, man. I'm glad you're awesome. So the idea today, our big idea today, we've kind of made fun of this in the past. We're actually going to talk about feelings. We're going to talk about emotions. And so in the past where we've kind of, I guess, made fun of it from time to time, we're going to do the opposite today. We're actually going to dig in and lean in because it actually has a lot to do with this idea of peaks and valleys. So when we think about emotions and we think about our feelings, one big question that comes back is, why can't I lead based on how I feel?
It's a great question. And, you have this intuition inside of you. You can lead how you feel. Okay, so it's not to say you can't lead by how you feel. However, you can't be a slave to that feeling.
Okay. So I guess one of the questions is when I think about leading and how I feel, the first thing that comes out is authenticity. I don't want to be fake.
Right.
I want to be who I am, and I want to be able to lead how I'm feeling in the moment, because then my team knows that, I'm not hiding or anything. How do you respond to that? Because again, we're talking about can you do it? Can't you do it?
There's a very productive way of doing it and a very unproductive way of doing it. All right. And so when you are a slave to your emotions, you are in a deficit. You're not in a power position. Okay. When you're a master of your emotions, that's, you're in the power position. And so there's a very, very big difference between, being a slave and being a master of your emotions. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So I have this little diagram here. Those that are watching this morning can see. Got this little stick figure here. You see that?
Yeah, very, very well done.
This is like, highly professional, and like photoshopped and everything.
You're going back to preschool on this one.
We got to keep things simple. So we got this little stick figure dude in option A, and then you see the emotions are in front, right? And then we got in option B, we got this little stick figure dude. Can you guys see that? Can you see that?
For those who can't see it, let's make sure.
So option A is a little stick figure dude, and there's the word emotions that's there in front. And then in option B, we got the little stick figure dude, and there's emotions behind. Okay? And so when you are a slave to your emotions are leading you. This is the limbic side of the brain. You talked about this.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
It's the limbic side of the brain where there is no rational thought. Right? You can't process things. Like when you're emotionally out of control, it's your own personal agenda. Okay? And so now you can't think clearly, so you just have this one point that you got to get across, and it's all about you. It's not about the team. It's very me-centered. And so you can't have that mechanism like the neocortex, which is B, where you're a master, your emotions are behind you. The neocortex processes things very clearly. It's the who, what, where, when, how. It's thinking about the bigger picture of the team. So when you're leading with your emotions, you're in this limbic side of the brain where there's just no way of having rational thought. So let's break this down.
Yeah, because I've got all kinds of questions as we go through this for sure. So here's the question though: if you're like B, and it's stick figure guy, emotions are behind you.
Yep.
Right. You're not a slave to your emotions. Is the criticism with that though that you tend to come across as robotic and that you don't really care and that you're stone faced, you're Clint Eastwood, and it's hard for people to connect with you? What does that actually look like?
Yeah. So no, it's not. God gave us emotions for a reason. There's plenty of great emotions that are fun and exciting and happy. There's also emotions that are sad, mad, and angry, right? And so no, emotions are there for a reason. Gosh, the world turns, a lot of times off of emotion and what great things emotions bring to a company or an organization. So the difference is, are you in control of that? Okay. So I can give you an example. I'm a hockey coach, right? And this is many, many years ago. I was out in Denver, and I looked at my the game was going bad, and I looked at my assistant coach and I said, I'm going to motivate the boys. He goes, okay. I said, I'm going to throw every hockey stick and water bottle on the ice on the next whistle. And he goes, dude, don't do it. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. He's like, no, dude, seriously, don't do that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. Like, we got to do something here. We're getting killed, right?
Yep.
So next whistle.
Oh my gosh.
One by one.
Shut up.
I took every hockey stick and water bottle and threw it out on the ice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did you hit anybody?
No.
Okay, good.
I was like, this is, you guys are, let the boys control the game. I can't believe that you're not, you're allowing this game to get out of hand. And every stick one by one. I didn't take the batch and just toss them one by one. It was pretty theatrical. And so guess what happened? I got a suspension. Not just one game, but 15 games.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was that part of the plan?
That was not part of the plan. That was epic failure. Okay. So the point is, I was in control. I knew what I was doing. I was doing it for a reason, although a bad reason to do it.
Did you really know what you were doing?
I didn't, at the side of that. So
the consequence.
The other side of it is I'm so out of control. I'm out of my mind that my emotions are overpowering me, that I take every stick and throw it out and I really don't care. And bop, 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 bop. It just becomes this unraveling. But I systematically knew what I was doing, although a bad choice to do it, but I was in control. Yeah. So when you're completely out of control, you're in a bad place.
Are there any common situations that we typically see where, entrepreneurs or business leaders, really our audience finds themselves in that typically kind of drives them to this place where their emotions lead them? I mean, do you see some commonality in what really pulls people into that crazy experience?
Well, over the years, working with different organizations, I can see that obviously people are different, but I've got this emotional intelligence side of things where you're high EI, low EI. When you're aware of your emotions, that's the first step. If you're out of control and not able to talk, I don't want to say intelligently, but just have a kind of an awareness about your situation. Like if you're not aware that you're angry and mad, happy, like you're just that way all the time. Yeah. The first step is to be aware. The second step is to have empathy for your emotions. So if you're not aware, like yesterday we had a very good conversation, you and I.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I actually said, you're defending, we're not discussing. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, well, I didn't mean to be that way.
Yep.
Right? Yep. And it was cool. It was like we just moved on.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just having that awareness, not getting upset, not trying to drive the conversation, down a path. That was a very healthy conversation we had.
Absolutely. And thinking about, times that you and I have both seen this, let me bring up another example here. You and I were in the same room for this, which is very fascinating. We were at a leadership conference a few years ago. As soon as I say this, you know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
And you and a friend of ours are sitting here helping in this kind of workshop portion of this leadership conference, people to understand the real idea behind why social media exists, right? And the idea was, is it for dialogue or is it for debate? And we were talking about the fact that really at the end of the day, social media is for dialogue, not debate. Even though us and you as listeners, we see this all the time that people use social media as a platform to debate. And through this process, we get a couple of people in the audience that have we figure out really later through the process, but their lives have been really marred by social media debate and it's hurt them. And so they begin to get really vocal about how wrong you and the other host were. Mm-hmm. And so, you guys are doing that. My responsibility in this environment is to manage the room, make sure it doesn't get out of control. And in that process, I thought we saw the picture perfect example of what it means to be a slave to your emotions and actually to lead your emotions. Can you unpack that a little bit more in that example?
We have lots of ways that we mask certain issues in our life.
Yeah.
And
one of them is by, things like
fire engine going by. Like that could just throw me.
This is real, everybody.
There's a fire engine going by. So there's lots of ways that we mask and we hide and we do things. And so like social media and getting upset or allowing that emotion to overpower you is one way to mask something else in your life. You're absolutely right, man. Like, social media is a dialogue. It's a fun interaction between your friends. When it gets in debate and you're trying to push your agenda and you're getting upset and trying to pull people into your point of view, it takes over your day and you're just not in a good position, right? Like, you want to do that. So another area that people mask that's socially acceptable is when you're a fanatic, this fan. Like, I like going to hockey games, but I am not, like, it doesn't drive my day whether the team wins or loses, right? Like, and some people just get so entangled. We're coming up on, like, football and playoffs and all that kind of stuff. And like, like, it's people are just so engaged in their team winning and losing. The reality of that is you have no financial, your team winning or losing has zero financial impact on your future.
True.
Like,
it doesn't feel like it in the moment, but it's true.
Right. Like, if your team winning or losing from week to week is ruining your week, you're not in a good place.
No. So I think we've done a good job of trying to define what it means to be a slave to your emotions. Let's kind of transition into some practical steps that we can take to figure out that if today that, if we've identified, or if you at home or in your car or wherever have identified that, man, I guess I probably am a slave to my emotions. There are certain things that set me off right away, whether it's with my team or when we're trying to solve a problem or whatever, or one of the common things is, why doesn't my team do what I tell them to do? And then I get upset, and say things I probably shouldn't say. So if we've identified that we are a slave to our emotions, what next? What do we do? Like, what are some steps that we can take to begin to move forward and take our emotions from that front place in front of us and put them behind us?
That's good. So let me give you 5 warning signs that you're a slave to your emotions, and then we'll finish up with what you can do. And I think we've already answered it, but we'll go back and just review that for a second. So five warning signs. Here we go. And what we'll do? We'll post this to the this actual PDF to the podcast so you can get it. Number 1, you react without thinking. One of the biggest signs that you're a slave to your emotions is that you find yourself reacting to a lot of situations in life without thinking at all. That's number 1. Number 2, it feels right in the moment, but wrong afterwards. You're caught up in the moment. Your instincts feel right even when they're wrong. Okay. Number 3, your actions hurt yourself and others. When your emotions get the best of you, it can often end up hurting both yourself and others. Number 4.
I was going to say, for that one, think about if you're married, think about a time you got into an argument with your spouse. Wow, that's right there.
Yeah. Here's a big one. You ruminate at night and can't sleep. Oh, man, I couldn't sleep last night. Another sign that you're a slave to your emotions is that you spend a lot of time at night thinking excessively and not being able to get much sleep.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5, you keep repeating this cycle. Everything described above happens to everyone to some degree. No one is perfect, and we all have moments when your emotions bring out the worst in us. So this leads into your question of what do we do next? Well, we understand that, 1, we're aware that we're a slave to our emotions. That's the first step. Be aware. Okay?
Yep.
Number 2, once you're aware, you're probably going to trip up again over that, but be aware again.
Yeah.
After a couple of those awarenesses, you're going to go, wow, okay, I'm not in a good position here. I can't lead this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not in a power position. And then number 2, have empathy for your team. Have empathy for yourself. Have compassion.
Yeah.
Right? And work through it. Right? Ask yourself, we talk a lot about on the show having mentors. Ask your mentor. Hey, this is the situation that happened. I feel like I was a slave to my emotion. I was out of control. I wasn't in a power position. Is this accurate or not?
Yeah. Can I add one more thing to that?
Yes, go for it.
One of the things that helps me, and I am at my best, I perform my best, I lead my best when I do this in terms of my emotions, is just the simple idea of pause.
Mm-hmm.
Of if I get into a conversation that could get heated, I had this happen yesterday with somebody. and I'm listening and I'm listening, and in my mind, the first thing I say is, okay, pause. Don't just sit there and react right away. Just pause. Take in what you're listening. Take it all in, what's on their face, how they're communicating, and then let's respond appropriately. Let's not fly off the handle. Let's not go crazy, because again, you may call that authentic, but let's not call something what it's not.
Right.
Okay? We can be great leaders, but we've got to act like that. And so the great leaders in all of our minds are ones that actually do that pause, that listen, that really kind of weigh their words. And I think that's something that we can all do right now. As soon as we're done listening to this, is you're going to find yourself in a situation literally probably in the next hour,
right,
or 2 hours or 4 hours. Pause. Just stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like you said, you're probably going to mess up. It's okay. Have some grace, but keep going, keep pushing, keep trying.
Yeah. One of the acronyms I use with some of my hockey teams over the years is this acronym called HALT. So, you know, whenever you come into a situation where you're not sure whether you're gonna be a slave to your emotions or not, or, you know, whatever it is, you want to react really fast. Don't make a decision when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Yeah.
HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Pause is great.
Yep.
Love that. HALT is an acronym that you could use as well. You know, type out the email. Make sure you get that out. Put it in your draft folder. Wait 24 hours. You're not hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Go back and read it. A lot of times, you're not going to send it.
That's right.
And you'll be glad you waited. So,
yeah. So hey, as we wrap things up today for the podcast, you know, I think this topic is so important and so powerful. But, you know, let's kind of bounce this against the core of why we do what we do on this podcast, right? And this is so cool now when you think about it in this way. When you think about rigor, you think about applying rigor. Here's where the whole thing comes full circle for you as you listen. It's this idea of using the steps we've talked about, using the identifiers, and continuing to refine and work it and refine and work it in terms of your emotional intelligence. And that will actually be where we apply rigor to our emotional intelligence.
Success is never final and failure is never fatal. It's your courage through both that counts.
That's right.
Winston Churchill.
That's right. Well, be brave, be strong, and we will catch you next time on this podcast. So, hey, go apply some rigor. Take care.